Welcome to the Build on Beauty podcast, where beauty is born skin deep. Now, here's your host, author, speaker, entrepreneur, Cornell Jermaine.
Hello and welcome back to the Build on Beauty podcast. I am your host, Cornell Jermaine. Thank you so much for joining me once again for another great episode. Listen, today we want to talk about 3 ways to abundance. 3 ways to abundance. How to get more out of life. So when we talk about this word abundance, we're talking about a life of purpose, fulfillment, endless possibilities. Some people, when they hear the word abundance, they associate it with money, wealth. Some people associate it with having fulfillment and freedom in life. Abundance is all of that. It is all encompassing. So when we're talking about, for context purposes, when we're talking about abundance, we're talking about a life of purpose, a life of fulfillment, and a life of endless possibilities. So that covers your money, your wealth, your relationships, your influence, your freedom, all of that. It is called abundance. So when we talk about 3 ways to abundance, how to get more out of life, there are 3 principles that we must implement in that effort. And it comes from a historical book that you may have heard of. And the text says, "Ask and it shall be given. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and the door shall be open." Ask and it shall be given, or it will be given. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open unto you. So those are the 3 principles, or the 3 ways to abundance. But let's break them down a little bit. First, you're going to ask. What does it mean to ask? Now, we've been asking for things even before we could form words. You know what I mean? If I was in the grocery store just the other day, and a mom who was pushing her baby in the car, it looked like he might have been anywhere from 3 to 4 months old, very little. And she came up the aisle I was in, and then she turned and went down the other aisle. I heard her saying, hold on, because I'm hearing the baby crying a little bit. And, she's talking to him, hold on. And then I'm going down the opposite aisle, and I just so happened to turn and look, and she had stopped to go into the diaper bag to get him a bottle. He was asking for something and did not even have the articulation of speech yet. But he knew what he wanted, and he knew how to inform his mom of what he wanted so that she could stop whatever she was doing to give it to him. So this art of asking is something that is innate. I think when we begin to mature in life and grow up, sometimes we feel the need to look or be perceived a certain way, as if we don't need to know, or as if we know it all. And a lot of time that hinges on insecurity. You have to pretend like you know it all. You know what I mean? So you're scared to ask somebody because you want them to think that you know what you're doing, but you really don't know. That is the most immature thing you could do in any area of life, especially when it comes to fulfilling your destiny or fulfilling a life of abundance. If you don't know, don't be afraid to ask. But what does it mean to ask? It means to call for. It means to say, hey, how do you do this? Or, hey, what's the next step in this effort? Or how should I go about making this happen? You ask for it. You call for that thing. So whether it's learning how to sew, whether it's learning how to cook, whether it's learning how to invest your money, you're going to call for whatever it is that you're looking for. So you're going to go to a reputable resource and say, hey, this is what I need to know. I don't know this. There's no shame in asking. There's no shame in asking. Actually, our former president, Barack Obama, said it best. He said, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. He said, I do it every day. Asking for help isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. It shows you have the courage to admit when you don't know something and need to learn something new. So asking is not a strike to your ego. Don't take it as if you're being looked at as less than. You're actually looked at as more than, because even the people, as we see in this quote from President Obama, even people in high affluent positions have to ask for help, have to ask for ideas, have to ask for insight on different things. So it's something that you're going to always have to do if you're going to evolve and grow. You're going to have to ask somebody. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to ask. So call for it. But asking also means to desire, to crave it. So when you're asking for something, sometimes it comes with the mouth where you're able to articulate it. And other times it comes out in your energy and how you carry yourself and how you go about your life, how you express yourself emotionally. That's what the baby was doing in the middle of the aisle when I was at the grocery store. He was using his body, his emotion, his senses to call out, to desire, to crave that which what he wanted. And in that craving, he let his mom know, this is what you have to do for me. You get what I'm saying? So there's a way to communicate it even in your daily actions, your daily existence. When you can't even find the right person to ask, it's the asking of your body. Where do you spend your time? Where do you spend your energy? What is your focus on? How do you draw your attention to things? What things are grabbing your attention? That's the part of asking. You're asking in a nonverbal way for what it is that you want. And then when you get to the place where you can find someone that you can ask verbally, you do so. But it's that ask is something that is almost embodied. You get what I'm saying? Your whole body wants or craves this thing, which leads us to the next thing that you have to do, which is seek. When that ask goes from a nonverbal position to a more human and physical position, now you're seeking. Everything in your body is seeking out the answer, seeking out what it is that you're desiring. Seek means to endeavor, to try hard to do or to achieve. People who do this end up being some of the greatest people in our society because they endeavor to do it, even when they don't know how. That's something that you must realize. Even when they don't know how, they endeavor. So what does that mean? They take the risk. They throw themselves out there. We talked about risk taking in last week's episode. They throw themselves into it, even when they're not quite sure. And I tell you, there's a blessing in doing that. There's a blessing in endeavoring in something. When you know it is something that belongs to you, there's a blessing in that. Why? Because the old folks used to say, people help people who help themselves. I say this from experience. I love to see, and let's take a young person, for example, who's seeking out something and has this desire, has this great ambition for life, and they may not be getting it quite right, but I watch them as they seek out. I watch them as they seek for it and endeavor to achieve and do. I quickly want to run to their rescue and say, hey, do this, or hey, try this, or hey, you know what I had to do in that moment? I did this. It worked for me. It's something about when you throw yourself on the line and people are seeing that you don't mind risking it all for what it is that you want. That's what I tell the young people, because a lot of times, especially in this generation, I just don't understand. But a lot of times our young people now, they want to act like they got it all together. And they not only do they not want to ask for help, they don't even want to receive the help when it is offered. I don't know what it is about it, but I want to let whoever that may be in that position let you know that that is not the way to go. If somebody offers or wants to extend a lifeline to you and help you, show you a way that it might be better, don't be so close-minded to the fact that maybe it's something that you don't know that you should know, or maybe it's a way or something that you can learn from their strategy or their technique that you don't know. When I went into the business of hair very early in life, I was pretty good. But guess what? When I connected to some people who I felt had a better advantage and knew more than me, I was a sponge. And guess what? It made me a better technician because I was open to receive whatever it is that they knew. And guess what? There were some things that I knew that they wanted to know, and I shared that. It became this beautiful exchange. But I had to go into these rooms and relationships open. And sometimes we're not open enough. So when you endeavor to do something, when you endeavor to do it, there are people who will run to your rescue just because they admire the fact that you were willing to do it for yourself. That it happens all the times in other sectors of society, in other industries. You go to a bank and ask them for $100,000 for your business. They're going to first ask you, how much have you put up? What have you done? What's the risk that you've taken? How much money of your own have you put into it? And how has that worked out for you? And what are your projections? We're not finna give you a check. We're not finna give you money. And you can't even account for what it is that you've done thus far. We want to see that you've endeavored to do this thing yourself. We want to see that you've put some skin in the game. And that's what you do when you endeavor. When you seek, you put skin in the game. Even when you don't really know what you're doing, you put skin in the game and you trust the process. You trust the process. And that's something that we have to learn in our society, because everybody wants to appear like they're the grand poobah, like they know it all. there's no value in that. The only value you get in that is that you appear to have it all together. But appearing to have it all together and really having it together are two different things, because the people who really have it together are really the ones who are open to receive more and have more of an advantage than the ones who try to pretend like they got it all together. So don't be afraid to ask, and seek with all of your might. Jump in and seek out whatever it is that you're wanting to do. The last thing you need to do is you need to knock. What does that knock mean? It means to rap. It means to strike. As if you're knocking on the door, you're striking a surface with a series. A series. Not so that mean what that mean? That mean it's not once. Many times we go knock on the door, and if the opportunity doesn't open up for us, we forget all about it. We don't want to do it no more because we feel rejected. When you knock in this sense of the text, you're knocking and you're striking that door with a series. A series, a continual, until it opens or until another door opens. But you're knocking with a series of rapid, audible blows, especially in the order to attract attention. So you want to let whoever is behind that door know, hey, I'm here, and it's something I need from you, and it's something you need from me. I got something to offer. You get what I'm saying? Hey, knock, knock, knock. They don't answer the door that time. You come on back. You know what I mean? Come on back. Maybe wait a few months. Maybe wait a couple of months. Call again. There are many instances in my life where I've had to knock repeatedly, strike the door repeatedly in order for things to open up for me. One instance is when I first got into the industry, into the hair care industry, more than 25 years ago. When I got into the hair care industry, I set out to do it, and I knew from the beginning that I wanted to work with or work under or work alongside great people. And at that time, the greatest people that I could put my hands to and touch was a couple that was in my local city who were on the map when it came to the business of hair. They did everything. Everybody respected them in the industry. They had a following. They were all in the magazines and the shows and the award shows, and they did it all. They had celebrity clients. They were respected and well versed in the business of hair. And I said, I want to work with them. I said that when I decided to step out into the business and become a full-time technician, I said, I want to work with them. And what did I do? I went, and I didn't even know. I never met them before, so I didn't know. Only thing I knew about them is what I saw in the magazines. Only thing I knew about them is what I read or what I may have seen sitting in the audience at a show. Never crossed their paths, didn't know nobody that knew them. But what did I find out? I found out that they had a school. So I showed up to the school. Unexpected. Regular business hours, knocked on the door repeatedly. Now, this is the first attempt. Knocked on the door. The husband opened the door. Greeted me, accepted. I told him while I was there, we chopped it up for a minute. He asked me a few questions. I asked him a few questions. He said, well, we don't have anything right now, because granted, I'm trying to work with them, right? So I'm asking them, y'all got a salon or something, I would love to, whatever. He's like, well, we don't have anything right now. We're working on something, but it's not ready right now, but check back, maybe in a few months or so down the line. So I was like, okay, no problem. I left, and I was like, okay, whatever. So that thing wouldn't go to sleep in me. So I got back, and, some months passed, and I was like, I'm gonna go check again. So I went back to the school. And he said, and I said, well, hey, what son says, I'm talking to him. He remembered me. And he said, well, yeah. He said, well, really, so now we working on something, but it's really my wife's thing. You know what I mean? So you're going to have to talk to her about it, So I'm like, okay. So now he's throwing the buck to his wife. You know what I mean? So now, because I guess I'm becoming an irritant a little bit. So he's like, well, that's my wife thing. So you're going to have to wait and talk to her. She's not here. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, well, how can I meet her? He said, well, let me get your information or whatever, and such. So I said, okay, left my information. And that was that. So I'm like, okay, I went back again, and it may have been a year or so. It may have been maybe about 3 or 4 months later. I went back again, and I rapped on that door, struck that door again. Do you hear me? So this time he says, oh, my wife will be here in a minute. And I'm like, oh, good. So remember, because the last time he threw it onto his wife, he said, well, that's my wife thing, so you really got to talk to her. So the wife came. I sat around. I don't even know. I sat around a little minute, and she eventually came. Mind you, this is the school. Nobody's, nobody's there. It was after hours or whatever. And she showed up, and I introduced myself to her. And I told her what I was looking to do, what I wanted to do, et cetera, et cetera. And she explained to me and she said, well, the salon is not open and we're still under construction and we're doing some build outs. But she said, you know what, if I'm actually working in the school right now. So if you want to, you can come work with me here. And I'm like, bet. And from that day forward, I became not only a student of theirs, but a colleague and friend. That's what opened up that door for me. Now, I stayed with them for a little time and then I moved on from that. But I had to completely let go of my ego, let go of the rejection, if you will, and say, this is what I want. And I'm endeavoring to get it. And I'm going to keep asking. I'm going to keep seeking, showing up. And I'm going to keep knocking. I heard you got a salon open. I heard y'all about to work on something. Hey, I was just trying to be a part. I really want to. Sure, come on in. And I worked with his wife. I worked with her for months before the salon even opened. It was she and I in the basement of that salon, of that school. And I worked with her until that salon opened. And when that salon opened, I had the chair that was just right outside of her room. It was an upstairs loft type situation. And she had her own suite. And everybody else was out on the floor. And I was the first chair when you walked out of her door. I'm just saying that to say there are people that you admire, people that you want to connect with, that you want to work with in whatever industry you're in. And you may think it's far-fetched. I'm here to tell you it's not far-fetched. You're just one ask. You're just one seek, one knock away from the opportunity to not only connect with them, but to be a part of a great vision. To be a part of a great vision and build what it is that you want for yourself. So I say all of that to say is you have to ask, find resources or people that you can ask about whatever it is that you're seeking. Seek for it. Jump in. Before I went to ask about working with them or knocking on the door of opportunity that I heard might be available because they were opening up something, I was seeking on my own. I was out building my clientele. I was out connecting and going to shows and learning what I can learn. I was seeking because, mind you, I'm trying to connect and work with some of the greatest in the business at the time. And I can't work with them being half baked. I had to show up well-versed. And if not well-versed, I had to show up at least with an openness and with a heart that wanted to learn more. So I had to go and seek it out for myself. So that when I stand with them, alongside of them, I could be a talent that they're proud to be associated with. Do you get what I'm saying? Not somebody that is like, well, he got a good heart. He mean well, but he can't do no hair. His skill sets is poor. Nobody of greatness wants to be associated with somebody like that. They may console you and take you in and comfort you and be a support to you. But when it comes to doing business and making things happen, they gonna want to associate with people who are on their level or at least show the potential of being on their level, which means you're gonna have to be good at whatever it is that you do, exceptional. And that's what I had to do. So that was where I sought after. I sought after becoming good, exceptional, becoming the best at what I knew I could do at that time. And guess what? When I connected with them, I became even better and soared even more and did even more. But I had to ask. I had to seek, and I couldn't be too ashamed or shy to keep knocking, showing up at the door. Hey, is it open yet? Hey, I need to talk to her. Okay. Hey, is she here? Hey, is she here today? It's the ask, the seeking, and the knocking continually, a series of it, not just once. Not just when you think you don't know, so I might ask so and so. No, ask everybody you can find. Ask everybody who you think might know. Ask them. And sometimes they'll tell you, sometimes they won't. And it's okay. It's okay. But guess what? Sometimes you need to ask not just because a person may have the answer, because there are some people that won't have your answer. But sometimes you need to ask because you need to let people know or put it out into the atmosphere what it is that you're desiring. Because there are many people who have the answer, but they don't unveil it or release it to you because they don't know you want it. So when you start just asking and talking to random people, guess what? Now all of a sudden it gets to the right ears. that ask gets to the right ears and they say, oh, I know he was interested in that. Oh, I know she was interested in that. Oh yeah, my buddy such and such. Oh my yeah, let me connect you with them. Yeah, they real. Boom. Now what's happened? Now you've connected. So sometimes you're asking people and they don't really have the answer for you, but don't stop asking. And don't target people that you just think might know because of the status or how they floss or you know what I mean, how they flaunt or how they finesse things. Because sometimes the answer is going to come from people that that don't have no recognition in the industry or don't have no recognition in said sector of society, but they know somebody who does. So ask, seek, and knock. These three will land you into a life of purpose, fulfillment, and endless, I said endless possibilities. This has been the Build on Beauty podcast, where beauty is born skin deep. I'm your host, Cornell Jermaine. Until next time, let your soul be made whole. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Build on Beauty podcast. For more information about our host, please visit cornelljermaine.com.